Well, hello, gunfighters. Saddle up for another episode of Gunfighter Life, the podcast where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics, the right way, with Almighty God at the center, Judeo-Christian values, and real-world first-hand experience. I'm your host, Michael Milito. I am blessed to serve you today. This is a little bit of a throwback to days of yore. Those of you who have been listening for years, way back before there were patrons, when I would record this a couple of times a year, a lot of times on the way back from the range. Well, I'm on the way back from an ad hoc range that I made out in the forest on a dirt gravel road, Alexander Hamilton running in front of the truck as we get back from the range here, and I defrost a little bit. Hands are cold, feet, toes are cold. Doing a couple of rifle projects, a couple that I don't think I'm ready to unveil yet on Gunfighter Life, but I've been doing a lot of rifle craft lately. And if you don't know my history, I talk about the bio a lot, but the first competition shooting I ever did was more precision rifle, not like the PRS, like long distance stuff, but the more precision, like really precision rifle stuff. That's how I cut my teeth. Now, and it's nice to get back to doing a lot of rifle stuff, although I still think handgun should be your bread and butter. Here in America, a handgun is probably your dominant gun. And I know that's weird to think about, but that's probably the gun you have on you most of the time. And if there's going to be a gun to save your life, it's most likely going to be the handgun. So I don't think we should neglect that in our training. Even though we might like to shoot rifle a lot, handgun I think should be our primary. But the rifle, it's a beautiful thing. And today I wanted to, while this was still fresh in the memory, talk about letting your rifle talk to you, letting your rifle speak to you in a manner of speaking. Instead of thinking, oh, my rifle is going to perform best this way, or my rifle is going to like this thing or that thing. Letting your rifle talk to you about what it likes or doesn't like. A big one is ammo, right? I wouldn't get a rifle and assume, oh, I'm getting this rifle and I'm going to shoot, let's say it's an AR, 77 grain IMI or IWI, 77 grain, super slamming, whatever. That's a good load. But your rifle may not like that load. I don't care about the twist rate. I don't care about what somebody else said about their rifle. That doesn't mean that your rifle is going to like that ammo. I find it a best practice when you get a new rifle, or if you're transitioning a rifle to a different purpose, taking out a couple of different loads, especially if you're a hand loader. But I assume if you're a hand loader, you kind of know this, because if you're a hand loader, you're kind of probably a cut above in weeding out ammo. But if you get a new rifle, don't just buy whatever ammo is on the shelf unless you have to and assume this is the rifle that my ammo is going to like. Because it may not. I don't care if it's match. I don't care if it's super ultra mega match ammo. I don't care if it's, just won 5 back-to-back world championships. That doesn't mean that your rifle is going to like that ammo. Let your rifle talk to you and tell you what kind of ammo that it likes. I've been working with a new AR. I don't think that's giving too much away. And I got this AR used very blessed for a good deal. And I took it out, and I got it at such a good deal, I thought, well, even if I just cannibalize it, rip it apart for parts, and just use some of the parts, I'll do okay on this. Well, I took it out, and the first group I shot out of it with a certain kind of ammo, which is one of my go-to ammos, it put them in one hole. That's outstanding accuracy for a precision bolt gun. It put them in one hole. And I thought, well, I'm not tearing this thing apart, right? That would be a little foolish when you get a gun that shoots that good. And with that load, I tried it with some 70, and that was 55 grain, kind of one of my go-to loads. I tried it with some 75 grain stuff. I think 2 different 75 grain loads, but didn't like either one of those. And somebody, might look at that and think, oh, the 75 grain match load, the 77 grain loads, of course they're going to shoot better. No, not necessarily. I mean, even though it's got a fast twist rate, those may perform better at really long range, like out past 700-800 yards, because they're going to have a much higher ballistic coefficient. But inside 300-400 yards, my gun likes that 55 grain stuff, which is great because I like it too, and it's affordable to practice with, and it puts them in one hole, which is crazy. Crazy awesome. Now, if I had just gotten that gun and put the 75 grain loads through it, I would have been like, okay, it shoots okay. It was okay even with those loads. But I might have ripped it apart. I was like, oh, this gun doesn't shoot. But because I wasn't letting the rifle talk to me and tell me what it liked. I shot several loads through it the first day I took it out. That's what I mean. One of the ways, let your rifle talk to you. Let it tell you what it wants to shoot. Now, if there's a specific thing, you may try and force it into that role if there's some reason you want to use a certain kind of ammo. But let that rifle talk to you. Another case, I got another rifle, a more traditional bolt-action rifle, walnut stock, beautiful gun. If you guys don't know, recently went on a trip, went to live in Alaska for a while, and even though parked the truck in a locked, gated, guarded place, it got broken into and several guns went missing. Well, in rebuilding that arsenal, I got a couple of new guns so far. This one was a more traditional bolt action. I don't want to give too much away. And it was all torqued down to spec, like brand new. And I went out and I shot it, and it shot horrible. I mean, it was atrocious. For any kind of modern rifle, it was bad. It was just bad. We're talking like 4 MOA, right? We're talking like World War II bolt gun kind of stuff for a modern bolt action. I was like, well, that's horrible. And letting the rifle talk to you, I kind of looked at it, and I looked at the stock, and it wasn't quite symmetrical around the barrel. And I tried the old paper test, and sure enough, the barrel was rubbing on one side against the stock. And what was happening was 2 rounds were close together, and the third round was kind of a flyer, I think. Anyway, this is what I deduced, or what I think I deduced, diagnosed, is that the barrel was heating up. Obviously, metal expands when it heats up, and it was pushing against the side of the stock and moving the round over. Well, I thought, okay, well, let me do some stock work, some action work, and I did, and I turned it from like a 4 MOA gun to, and I didn't have the exact measurements, but I want to say maybe a 1.5-ish, and I was shooting hunting loads, right? I wasn't shooting like crazy ultra match loads through it. I tried that, but after I got the action thing worked out, I was just shooting just a couple of groups with just federal good ammo, but good hunting grade ammo, right? Not like match crazy high-end ammo. And it was shooting about 1.5 MOA because I let the gun talk to me. That time it didn't like the way that stock was rubbing against the barrel. So I did some action work on it real quick. I'm talking about in the field, doing some action work and some stock work on it, like at the range. And I got it shooting from 4 MOA to 1.5 MOA-ish. Again, I don't have the exact measurements. I didn't bring my calipers. I'm not trying to make it a bench rest rifle. But that was acceptable. That's acceptable for that kind of rifle. It's not a precision rifle, but that was acceptable. And I thought, well, if that made that much of a difference, let me go back and give it a bedding job. Put some bedding compound in there. If it made that dramatic of a difference, it obviously has some accuracy potential. And obviously it doesn't like it when that stock doesn't play nice with the action with the barrel. So the easy way, the historic way to fix that is to bed said action and barrel, or to bed the stock, to bed the action in the stock, however you want to word that. So I did a fairly rudimentary skim bedding job. Maybe I'll make that a little video. I don't do a lot of YouTube videos, but that would get really dry in audio. But that's what I mean about letting the rifle talk to you. Just two cases right there of two rifles that I'm working with. What if I had just taken that bolt action walnut, fairly expensive. I mean, this was not a cheap rifle. If I had taken that out and put, I think, even with the 175 grain Hornady, like target match ammo, which I thought would be very accurate in it. Again, I was like 3-4 MOA. I would have been super ticked off. And I was a little perturbed. But when I looked at it and did a diagnosis on it, letting the rifle talk and me listening to what was going on, it made a big difference. The same with the other rifle, right? If I had just been shooting what was thought of as the more match accurate ammo, the really heavy for caliber, literally loaded to match standards ammo, and I had just shot that through it, I may have just torn it apart and been like, it's okay, but I can use this thing and that thing, and I'll replace a bunch of stuff in it, instead of taking it out and let it telling me what kind of ammo it liked. And when I found the ammo that it liked, it just happened to be the first load, one ragged hole. That's phenomenal. And you miss out on stuff like that if you don't listen to the rifle, if you try and force a square peg into a round hole. Rifles are kind of like women in that they're very individualistic, right? I don't care if they're two exact same rifle models. I don't care, to use the same analogy, I don't care if you got two women, both are 5'2", blonde hair, blue-eyed, 115 pounds, right? They may be the same make and model, right? But they may behave dramatically different. One may be sweet and meek and conservative and dress and like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And the other one could just be borderline psychotic and just crazy and can't stand the smell of peanut butter. Definitely allergic to peanut butter, right? Just because they look the same, just because they're the same make and model, does not mean they're going to perform the same. Rifles are kind of like that, right? Rifles can be that individualistic. A real historic clear example of this is, let's say like a Ruger 1022, super mass-produced gun. But 22s can be very individualistic. Some can be omnivores. Some can eat just about anything and be fairly reliable. Some are only reliable with certain loads. Some really don't like certain loads. And some will eat almost anything. Some will even eat Remington Golden Bullets, which is like just the bottom of the barrel fodder for 22s. But some Ruger 1022s will feed and eat all of them pretty reliably. Some like a specific load and really don't like others. Again, rifles can be very individualistic. So don't assume just because one rifle likes a certain thing or one 1022 really likes CCI mini mags, that's a great load. It's probably a good place to start. But maybe it likes the 40 grains instead of the 38 grains. Maybe it likes, CCI stingers and it goes, super accurate with CCI stingers, but if you go to something else like Remington Thunderbolts, it throws them all over the place. Gives you random flyers. All right. Just let your rifle talk to you and listen to what your rifle is trying to tell you. Some guns like to be free-floated, embedded, and some you get them and they shoot so good you're like, I don't even want to touch it. I'm blessed to have a pre-64 Winchester 30-06. Just a regular wood stock. It's not free-floated. Thing's crazy accurate. I've taken it to the fairly dry Idaho and shot it, and I've taken it to super wet southeast rainforest Alaska. And it shoots great. I'm not going to mess with it. Unless it gives me some kind of reason to mess with it. Unless I start seeing some kind of crazy, dramatic shift in point of aim, point of impact, or something like that. That rifle has probably been shooting great for 70 years. 63 years, actually, to be exact, I think. It's been shooting good that long. And unless it gives me some reason to tinker with it, I don't really want to. Whereas the brand new rifle that I just got, very similar, and it's a bolt action controlled round feed walnut stock, but right out of the gate, It shot horrible. It needed work. It needed love, right? It was a high maintenance rifle. If you want to compare it to like women, it was high maintenance. I got it shooting okay, but high maintenance. Whereas that new AR that I got right out of the box, out of even the first shot being a cold bore shot, which is phenomenal. Cold bore shot, first group, first load, one hole. That crazy low maintenance, super chill, super low maintenance rifle. Pleasure to shoot, totally different, right? Let your rifles talk to you and listen to them. Anyway, I think that is the main point of this fairly short episode, but I think it's a good, valid point. Your tactical tip of the day, and this happened to me today. Thankfully, I had good positive control of the rifle, but you get a new sling, take a piece of duct tape, maybe camo, maybe tactical color, doesn't really matter, or some other kind of tape, maybe athletic tape, and wrap it around the very end of the sling if you're talking about a web sling. That way, if in training and moving around, that sling starts to come loose, that should prevent it from coming all the way out of the buckle and your rifle dropping on the ground. The sling that I was using today, it came out of the end, but thankfully I had positive control. I was holding it, but it very easily could happen when you don't and your rifle falls on the ground, and your rifle should be able to withstand that, but why go through that? Taking a piece of duct tape or something and just wrapping it simply around the end or both ends of your ballistic nylon sling so that it doesn't slip out of the clasp, the buckle, whatever it is, right? Of all the money you spend on your rifle and your sling and your optic, why not do that as just a cheap insurance? Putting that piece of duct tape around the end of the sling. That's your tactical tip of the day. The tactical verse of the day, let's go with a classic. I read it earlier today and it's just been on my mind. It's a beautiful, beautiful psalm, Psalm 23. You may know part of it, you may know all of it, but one of the sections of it is pretty famous. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day.